When I started going to church at 5 years old, I remember sitting in the middle of the congregation and the pastor talking about eternity, and I was feeling conviction of sin, and I was feeling the desire to get right with God, and actually responding to altar calls ever since I was 5 years old. Then youth camps would come and youth conferences, and I'd be going there, and I'd respond, and I had lost count the amount of times that I accepted Jesus, and said the prayer. But here was the problem. My life wasn't changed. I had the desire to serve God, but I could tell that nothing was happening on the inside, because by the time I got to 17 years old, I tell you what, I was a little saint on Sundays with my Bible, and during the week I was just living like the devil. I was running after girls. The only thing I had on my mind was sexual immorality. I was deceiving my parents. I was stealing. I was lying. I was cheating, dishonoring my parents. I was breaking all the commandments. And when I got to be 17 years old, it was in the spring of the year, I went to a roller dome where you like roller skate and go around in circles, and basically went there with a friend of mine for the sole purpose of finding a girl. And when we got there, I saw a young lady skating around, and she was all by herself. And I said to my friend Jeff, I said, Jeff, this one's mine. And I skated up to her and said, hi, my name's Jacob. And she said, hey. And she gave me her name. And I said, you live around these parts? And she said, well, I live in Gillette. I said, well, I live in Peshtigo. I said, we're like neighbors. They were like a half hour away from each other. But nevertheless, she, within 10 minutes, asked me if I went to church someplace. And I said, well, actually, I do go to church. And she says, well, I do too. And she goes, have you ever gone to a youth camp before? And I says, I have. And all of a sudden, I realized she was more religious than me. And so I put on my religious face. And she said, well, would you like to come with me to youth camp? I'm going to be going in a couple of months. And I thought to myself, a whole week with this girl? I can leave the chicken farm. I would love to. I didn't even have to pray about it. And so a couple months later, her mom came and picked me up, and we drove to the youth camp, Spencer Lake Bible Camp in Waupaca, Wisconsin. We unloaded our suitcases, and her mom drove away, and I said, don't worry, your daughter's in good hands. And the daughter, she stood there and said, I am so glad that you came to youth camp. And I said, well, I'm so glad that you invited me. She said, and if you'd excuse me, I said, yeah, sure, what's up? She said, I need to go get ready because I'll be meeting my boyfriend here in about a half hour. I said, your boyfriend? I said, you got a boyfriend? Oh, yes, I didn't tell you? I said, no, but that's okay. I said, well, enjoy your week. And I thought, oh my, here I am at this youth camp, and I've got no girlfriend. It's like, what's youth camp without a girlfriend? And so all week long, my goal was to find a girl. But all week long, God's goal was to catch me. And I just see the hand of God on how all this worked in my life nowadays. And it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, no girlfriend. I was sitting in the back of the sanctuary of the church when Denny Duran, the evangelist, was preaching. And I remember him preaching, and all of a sudden God did this miracle. He opened up my eyes, and he showed me the wretchedness of my own sin. I knew in that instant that if I died, I would go to hell. Even though I had said the prayer so many times, even though I believed in God, even though I had some desires for God, I was ungodly. I was living in sin. And I said, oh, Jesus, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I'm saying, forgive me, come into my life, but this time for real. I'll go where you want me to go. I'll do what you want me to do. Just come in and transform me. And you know what? The heavens opened up, and Jesus came into my life by His Spirit, and I was transformed that day. And I remember it was on the 14th of July, 1979. I remember at that altar, that when I was walking to that altar, I said, this time it's different. Something's different this time. Because it's when the Spirit of God came in. And I lifted up my hands and I said, I want to go out and save the world. And that's how Jesus came into my life. And ever since that point, from there, I went to Bible camp and started studying for the ministry. And that's how I got saved.